Welcome to Expat Hoops. Today we are talking with former Stanford player Isaac White, who started his pro career in 2020 with the Australian National Basketball League.
As we're recording this, we have a new website, expathoops.com, our own place for pods on Apple, Spotify, Facebook, and others soon to come. Of course, our YouTube channel will stay the same. There you can find full video pods and the expat extras you've come to know and like. But now let's get into it with Isaac White. Welcome to Expat Hoops, Isaac.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to start actually at your college career. You wound up at Stanford for the first 3 seasons, completed your coursework in 3 seasons. But what was your process like coming over to the States, and how did you decide on going to Stanford?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little unusual, my recruitment. I think a lot of it happened really late for me. I made a national team like towards the end of my grade 12. And so we had like a little tournament over in Fiji, which is probably the only real like opportunity I had to play in front of scouts. Like there were a couple of teams over there. Obviously it was videoed and I could send that tape out, but I had like offers from Boise State, Hawaii, and San Diego. So I visited those schools initially. I was kind of almost ready to go with Boise State. I had a great relationship with the coach over there. And then Stanford were kind of talking to me, and I told them like I was ready to go unless like we can make something happen. They offered me almost like a tryout. So they flew me and my family out like straight from Australia, straight to Stanford for 2 days. I had a practice with the team. It went really well. I got an offer and I committed pretty much soon after that. So interesting little recruitment, but it probably only happened because I got to represent my country and stuff like that. So that was a fortunate opportunity. And then obviously Stanford above all for me because one, like education's massive for me. I thought it was a great opportunity to, you know, get a great degree and be in that sort of atmosphere. And then basketball wise, like, I guess my mindset was like, let's just throw myself in the deep end, play high major basketball and see if I can figure it out as I go. So I was kind of excited for the challenge, both academically and on the floor.
Yeah, and during your time at Stanford, we talked a little bit off the pod about how that you wanted to play a little bit more, but there were definitely flashes, I guess, if you wanted to call it. Like I think your freshman year, you scored like 20 points against UNC. So certainly some games there that showcased your ability. But after about 3 years, you were done with your coursework and looking for a change. We talked a little bit off the pod in terms of you had actually committed to do a grad transfer year, but that all kind of hit right about the time COVID hit. So take us through what that process was like and how you ultimately decided to go pro.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Like basketball was great at Stanford. Like obviously, really good practice wise, but playing opportunity was kind of far in between for me. Like I definitely had some great games, but I kind of, once I got my degree, I figured there was definitely a school out there for me that, you know, I could have a massive role on and just produce. So initially I did commit to Cal Baptist University for that grad transfer. And then maybe like 3 days or so before my flight, with the COVID situation, I was kind of talking to my family and we were like, maybe I should have a look and see if there's an opportunity for me here in the NBL. So I kind of sent some feelers out just to get some feedback. And I got feedback from the Illawarra Hawks that they'd be willing to sign me if I wanted to commit to it. So within a day or two, I found an agent, signed with the Illawarra Hawks, and I was off to New South Wales to play in the NBL.
And with that agent that you ultimately signed with, don't want to say that there was a pre-existing relationship because that sounds like you were already signed, but it was somebody that you kind of already were acquainted with and you kind of had a little bit of lay of the land in terms of what the agents were in Australia at the time, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, I had relationships with the number of agents just because like they're kind of around the grassroots basketball here in Australia. Like I don't think it's very uncommon at all to know of and speak to agents. I spoke to agents my entire college career, not necessarily from a, you know, like signing standpoint, but just for advice, just to know kind of where I'm at, what the feedback is. So I had multiple agents throughout my college career kind of give me feedback on what the NBL situation would be like for me. And then once I kind of wanted to commit to that situation, then I found one agent I liked and signed with him. So yeah, definitely within the rules, but I did have like pre-existing talks with agents throughout the process.
So you started your rookie year on July 24th of 2020. I wanted to say last year, of course. We're filming this now in January of 2021, so no longer, or 2022, so no longer last year. But I do have to ask, you started your career right in the middle of the peak of the pandemic. Australia was not allowing much in terms of travel into the country. I know you said that played into some of your decision making to eventually turn pro because of the public health situation and the more isolation in Australia. And I have to say, in hindsight, that was pretty smart because things have been pretty good in Australia until they got the vaccines and stuff like that. You bought yourself a little bit more time. And you played the entirety of the pandemic so far. I don't think you've had very many shutdowns in terms of COVID. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, last year was pretty much full steam ahead, like no interruptions at all. Ironically, we have had interruptions in this last month. Like there's been like a pretty big outbreak now. So like people on my team got it, all around the league, people are getting it. Seems to be kind of the global situation now, but up until this point, it's been absolutely fine. I think there's going to be a little bit of a disruption right now, but I think there'll still be a season that goes ahead.
And as far as your rookie season is concerned, went off without a hitch. Tell us about your 31-game season and how you were able to do that, and what it was like in terms of your first real pro experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great pro season. Like I was part of a really cool team. We initially, like the situation with COVID was kind of bad in Sydney for Australian standards. So we got kind of sent up north to Cairns in Queensland. So we were kind of for the most part on the road for the first couple of months of the season. And we grinded out some road victories and stuff like that. And we got to go home. We went on a bit of a slide. But by the back end of the season, the team and I kind of got our stuff together and had a really big run and made the playoffs. So for me, like it was a great, both ends of the spectrum. Like I had games where I did really well. I had games where I didn't play much. We experienced like life on the road, life at home. So I think for a first pro year for me, it's going to be great to kind of use that sort of experience going forward. But yeah, wouldn't really change much about it. And as I said, like we had a really cool group. We were kind of not expected to do too well. We ended up making the semi-finals and were one game outside of the finals. So yeah, wouldn't change much about it for sure.
This summer after that first season, you played in the NBL 1 North for a team called the Ipswich Force. So this is a new type of league in Australia. What can you tell us about the league itself? How does it differ from the high NBL, and how are the experiences different from what you experienced your first year as a pro?
Yeah, so the NBL 1 league, there's kind of currently 4 sub-leagues. So like NBL 1 North, South, East, West. I think there's also a Central. And basically, it's just kind of each state will have like a bunch of teams, 10 to 12 teams, who generally try to recruit NBL guys. Each team will kind of have 1 or 2 NBL guys who will kind of serve as the imports. And then they'll have a bunch of local guys. So I guess it's kind of like almost like a G League to the NBL, but the seasons run in opposites. So with COVID aside, like the NBL season is supposed to finish just as the NBL 1 season starts. So it's not necessarily for everybody, but like we're seeing like even higher paid imports in the NBL, like Scott Machado, a guy who's been in the NBA. He played in the NBL 1 recently. Lamar Patterson's another guy who is a high-end import in the NBL, but he also plays NBL 1. So like it can serve for whatever you want it to be. It can be just like if you want to keep your fitness up, you can use it for that. If you want to, a guy like me, like I didn't play consistent minutes until the back end of the season. So I thought, I'm fresh enough. Like let's go, let's play. So I use that as another opportunity to kind of earn some money and just play some hoops throughout the year. So it's growing for sure. Like the popularity is going through the roof, but yeah, it was definitely the right decision for me last year.
And that's actually one of the interesting things that when I was looking up into the league, it's, at least from what I can find online, it says it's a semi-pro league. So for you, having had NBL experience and everything like that, like you said, you were getting paid well enough and everything. What's that like for essentially the range of people? Obviously, there's going to be some people, like you said, they're going to be on the higher end. Are they the ones that are usually the ones that are paid, and that you're also playing with people that are looking to make their way, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak on everyone, but what I'd say is, for the most part, if you're in the NBL and you're getting recruited to an NBL 1 team, there's probably only space for like 1 or 2 of you, and you're probably going to get paid quite well. I know my contract, for example, was just on a game-by-game basis. So I just got, I could have flown in just for the game and get paid for that, or I decided to live in the area and get paid by the week like that. But for the local guys, I mean, some of the better local guys get paid too, but some guys are just trying to, get on the court in that league. So I mean, there's that healthy range of like marquee guy, rookie guy, like in that league too. Some teams even just recruit guys straight out of America, straight out of Europe. There's been a couple of guys who literally just end college and fly over and play NBL 1, and they might even try and use that as a launch pad to get into the NBL. So yeah, I mean, it's just so many teams, so many different situations, but that's what my read on it is.
That's interesting. And so after your good rookie season and you played really well in the NBL 1 North, you were signed just, I think, before your contract expired to re-sign essentially with the Illawarra Hawks. Really nice words, in the press release and everything, but you played for a pretty legendary coach in the NBL. On your re-signing, he had pretty effusive praise for you about how you came on better at the end of the year, alluded to seeing your development continue. So what were the conversations like in terms of bringing you back for another season, and what is kind of like the conversation like, not only for you individually this year, but in terms of the team goals as well?
Yeah. I mean, the transition between both seasons for me and re-signing was super smooth. The rougher part was, I guess, during my first pro year. If you look at the game by game, like I started pretty well, and then throughout maybe like a 10 to 15 game stretch during the middle of the season, like I wasn't seeing the floor much. I wasn't playing great basketball, and I kind of had a conversation with head coach Brian Goorjian. And I kind of just said to him, like, what do I need to be doing different? Like, I want to see the floor. I want to help the team. What can I do? And like, he's brutally honest. It wasn't easy to hear, but he told me I need to make some pretty serious adjustments if I want to get on the floor. And I guess a couple of games later, there was a game in the city I'm from, actually, Adelaide. A guy got hurt, and I was called upon, and I had 16 points in maybe 20 minutes or so, and that kind of helped me throughout the back end of the season to show what I could do on both ends of the ball. So by the end of the season, as you spoke on, like the coaches were really happy with me, and so the transition into the next season was kind of easy and almost a no-brainer for both parties. I think like I'd made the progress they wanted to see, and I enjoyed being there, and I enjoyed being a part of the team's success. So re-signing was easy, and I guess the conversations after that were like, how can I grow on that? How can I continue to be a big piece of the team? And I guess unfortunately, but also fortunately, this year we've got like 4 American guards currently, like Justinian Jessup, Xavier Rattan-Mays, Antonius Cleveland, and Tyler Harvey. So that definitely makes us an extremely competitive team. It also makes it extremely competitive for minutes. So as of now, I haven't been seeing the floor too much, but I went through the same thing last year, and I think opportunities will arise. So I got to keep knowing my role, playing within that role, and hopefully I'll start seeing the floor soon.
And you're just now getting started into the season. I think you kind of alluded to some of the COVID outbreaks that are unfortunately happening now and everything, but what are the expectations for you and the team this year? Like you said, in season 1, you kind of exceeded expectations, but where are you guys looking at in terms of taking the next step?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the firepower we have, like I mentioned, those 4 guys, we also have Duop Reef, who was an Olympian for us this year. He's like our starting 5-man. Like we have an absolute squad. Like there's no secret about that. Like I think we're definitely been picked to win it by most of the analytics and stuff like that. So obviously that's our goal. Like we're super aware that we have the group to do it. But as of late, we probably haven't been playing our best basketball. We're 3-1 right now. Like we're sitting up the top, but we're kind of yet to find the rhythm that we had last year. And we're super aware of that too. So I guess right now the focus is just playing the basketball we know we can. Obviously we have great leadership, a great coach who can kind of help make that happen. But it's more just looking internally and making sure we're playing the right sort of basketball, because we know we'll probably play in the postseason, and we know we'll probably have an opportunity to win it, but we've definitely got to play the right way to get there.
One of the things we talked to DJ about, and having seen the interview as well, is kind of envision where do you see yourself playing, and he wasn't very shy about saying, oh, I'd like to be in Europe one day, or obviously if he wanted to stay in the NBL, that's one thing, but you're just starting in your career, very similar situation. I think you guys, he might be third year or second, I can't remember offhand, but basically the two of you are pretty young points in your life, in your career. Where do you see your career going from here, or where would you like to see it going?
Yeah. I mean, I'm an ambitious kid for sure. I've always wanted to play in the NBA, and like, I think the day that stops being my goal is when I'll lose my mojo. So like, that's always going to be my goal. I love the NBA. I think that would be awesome. That's obviously the peak of professional basketball. So that's what I'm going to continue to aim for. But at the same time, like it's not easy to keep a job even in the NBL, and I'm aware of that. Like last year when I wasn't seeing the floor for a bit, like it crossed my mind, like I'm on thin ice here. I got to start producing, or my career could be stunted. So my goals are definitely going to always be there. I'd love to play in high level Europe. I'd love to play in the NBA, but at the same time, I'm pretty grounded, and I know like right now I'm on a 1-year deal here. Like let's just get this year right and go from there. But I work extremely hard. Like I hang my hat on that, and I think kind of with my work ethic, a lot of things are possible. So I guess I'll just see where it takes me.
Actually, another thing, kind of drawing a parallel with DJ, is that where he started his career was home, not necessarily home city, but home country. That's a similar experience for you. Has it been nice being able to say, okay, I've started my professional career. I know you're not playing for your hometown team, but you are playing in your home country. Has that been something that's been kind of nice to focus on in terms of like, you don't have to learn a new language? You feel probably relatively at home. Has that been an experience that's been nice for you so far?
It has. I didn't really think about it until I got here, or maybe until I traveled the world a little bit with college basketball. I think it's probably something that's overlooked, like the comfort off the court. I think like a bunch of guys, I have friends who have been in and out of the NBL who are now in Europe, and like they can't even go to the supermarket without a struggle. So I think that's something I definitely appreciate, is playing in Australia and having that sort of comfort, and living in the beach and loving life that way. But at the same time, like I'm always going to do what's best for my basketball. If I have to go to Europe and live in a tougher climate just for the better basketball opportunity, then I'm definitely going to do that. And I think the other thing is like the NBL has grown. Like the NBL is like one of the top leagues in the world now. Like as you see, like there's some real guys in this league. So I don't think it's like necessarily the comfort of Australia, which I love, but right now I'm really enjoying like the challenge of the basketball and how competitive the league's become.
Well, there's two things that you mentioned. I'll do the second one first. NBL not only growing in prominence, like you said, but super easy to follow as well. It's all the games are streamed on YouTube, so that's one of the things we try to keep up with our guests and everything. And so far, super easy to follow. Not only you're going to be sitting down with us, and we were able to follow DJ's games and everything like that. So that's a nice little plug. If you're looking for good overseas basketball, NBL makes it super easy. Really high quality level of play, like you said. But the other thing, you kind of talked a little bit off the pod too, and I actually realized when you brought it up just a moment ago, the beach. Your arena's right off the beach. You get to be off the beach. What are some of the perks, and what are some of the things that are like, this setup, that's not so bad?
Yeah. I mean, I think most teams are pretty coastal, so I think most teams kind of have a similar situation. But I know specifically with Illawarra, like I live a block from the beach. It's a 30-second walk. We've got a bunch of young guys on the team who love to swim and surf and stuff like that. So like practice only takes up so much of the day. We've got a couple of hours to kill in the afternoons, and so especially with the weather at the moment. Like I just go down with my teammates, my friends. We just go down, rock out at the beach a little bit, go get a coffee, eat an acai bowl, whatever. So I think the lifestyle is just awesome. Like it almost feels like college in a sense, like especially in this area, like we all kind of live in a pretty small radius from each other. And so we're always in each other's business. So I love that stuff off court, and I'm certainly not taking it for granted. So yeah.
So of course we mentioned earlier that there is the other NBL league that plays in the summer. When we're talking about summer, we're talking about Australian summer, which you're kind of in the midst of that right now. Your season's, pretty well. You've got how many weeks left in the season currently?
How many weeks left?
Yeah.
TBD with COVID, but it should be done by maybe March, April.
Okay.
April, May is when it should be done, but it's hard to tell, to be honest.
Yeah. This season's going to be a little bit more up in the air than the previous season. But that being said, having summers in what is our winter makes me a bit envious for your current situation, as it's been fairly warm here this winter, but we're about to get several inches of snow this evening, which is going to be odd because it was 60 degrees and spring-like today. So it's been a bit weird in terms of that regard. What is the weather like there? You said it's basically beach weather.
Yeah, I think year round it's pretty sunny. Here in Illawarra. The last few days has been beautiful. Unfortunately, this summer it's been a little stormy. It's something called like El Nino or something. There's something where every fifth summer it's like pretty stormy and rainy. So we've copped a little bit of that, but right now it's blue skies, so I'm not complaining in the short term.
There you go. We should send this to the Australian Tourist Bureau. We're doing a pretty good advertisement for them currently.
We sure are.
Yeah, for sure. Isaac, thanks for coming on to Expat Hoops today. Wanted to wish you luck, first of all, with the rest of us are doing, trying to get through this Omicron uncertainty. A lot of sports leagues here in the U.S. are having the same problem. And good luck to what we hope will be a long career for you. Hopefully we'll see you stateside at some point.
Yeah, meaning to get out there, but thanks for having me. Appreciate it.